Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 40 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is my good friend, Kimberley Wahamaa. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Connor?
I'm doing very good. It's nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. For anybody who doesn't know Kim currently within the city of Greater Sudbury, Kim is a business development consultant around the province of Ontario. So first off, what got you started in business, Kim?
Well, I was 23 when I started my first business. It was Kim Bite Services. I was doing resumes for people, research, and I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So I'm now 52, and I've been around the block a few times and learned a lot from my experiences. And my goal as a business development consultant is really to help other entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And have you always been an entrepreneur?
Well, since I was 23, I was always doing something on the side as well as working full time. But a great mentor of mine was Jeff McGinnis. He sailed across the Northwest Passage, and he said to me a long time ago, Kimmy, you just have to brand yourself.
Absolutely.
You're always branding yourself under other umbrellas of other companies. So 2 years ago, after a bout with cancer, 5 years ago with a bout of cancer, I decided to go freelance 2 years ago on my own. So I'm now branding myself as me.
Absolutely. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to just fix one thing quick on the camera. I just noticed. I don't know why it's upside down. Sorry, Kim.
It's okay.
This will be a little... My apologies for everybody watching. I don't know why my camera doesn't flip anymore. Sorry about that. Terrible timing. There you are. Sorry.
There we go.
And okay, so I want you to talk to me about that for a second. So you're bout with cancer. I mean, obviously that's a big shock, right? You know what I mean? You're doing your business stuff as a consultant for various companies, and then walk me through this. When you were diagnosed with cancer, how did this go down in the most sense, and how did you feel?
Well, I found a lump on my left breast in the shower, and I was diagnosed in June of 2013, and I wanted to work throughout my treatment. So I just thought cancer's not going to get the best of me. I was in a whitewater rafting accident in 1989. I thought that's not my time. So
Wow.
Cancer wasn't my time either. And I came up with, in the middle of the night, I came up with the website Trust Your Bust. And nobody had the domain. I bought it at 4 a.m. And from there I've helped other people. And I think that's, everybody should have a life purpose. And
Absolutely.
I think, I believe that God chose me to have cancer so that I could help others. And if you check out trustyourbust.com, it has a lot of great stories of amazing women who've gone, and 1% of men get breast cancer as well.
Wow. I can only imagine the shock you would have went through right at the time when you're like, wow, I'm diagnosed with cancer, and you see in the news and everything, people hear about cancer, and it's kind of like a buzzword, you know, for negative connotations. I want you to walk me through, like, what were some of the things, obviously you did the Trust for Your Bust, like, that were helping you get over, you know, some of these obstacles when you're faced with a cancer?
Yeah, it just put me into a production mode, right? I wanted to do things, and I created a Trust Your Bust fund for breast cancer research right here in Sudbury.
Wow.
Through the Northern Cancer Foundation. And so there's, you know, opportunities to make a positive out of the negative, right? And, you know, I'm just very blessed for every day that I'm here, and you have to make your day, you know, make it your own.
Absolutely. You have to kind of pack that day with those many things. And I think that's a great mentality. I think that's where, you know, in society now it kind of shifts either way. But when you have that positive mental attitude, whatever's going to hit you, you know, my philosophy is you can't control the external environment, but you control the internal, right? And like yourself, you're going out there and you've been very successful in what you do. And even after, you know, an incident like that, you've used that as a fuel. For any of the viewers out there, so just to get some more context behind it, so business development consultant for various companies. So what does that entail specifically?
Well, one of the clients that I work for is Northern Ontario Angels, and I'm the events and marketing manager for NOA. You can go on to northernontarioangels.ca for more information. We merge entrepreneurs with angel investors.
Okay.
So we do Dragon Den type events across the north, and we have a calendar of events on our website that you can Thunder Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins,
they'll
be going to pitch.
Wow.
That's right.
That's really cool.
And there's other stories on there as well. And so if anybody's interested in a young entrepreneur who's looking for an angel investor, it doesn't cost them anything to sign up. We run it through a review process, and there's potential. We just did one in North Bay actually in November. There was 3 people that pitched, and they voted for the top entrepreneur, and there was some monetary value to them.
Given,
Yes, yeah.
I can imagine. Have you found, like, is it a mix between ideas? Like, you have some pretty bad ideas coming through there, but then you also have some good. Like, have you seen kind of a flux in both when you're doing these kind of events?
There's all sorts of sectors. 50% is technology, which is quite amazing. And this is just in Northern Ontario. So Northern Ontario Angels is the #1 angel organization in Canada right now. And we've put over 192 deals with $77 million.
Wow, no kidding. So that's quite significant.
Yeah.
How long have they been operating for? For quite some time? Or?
Yeah, it's over 10 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's still a huge repertoire to build up.
Yeah, and so I'm the events manager, so I go onto the location, do all the logistics and whatever they need, and we execute the events.
Yeah, kind of set them up and then find out, it could be your next top entrepreneur.
That's great.
I was going to ask you, so another project, you're working with the Sudbury Wolves. I want you to talk about that, because I know obviously they've been starting to get quite some momentum now, with under the new Dario Zulich kind of, I would call enterprise, I guess you could say, for the most part. Talk to me about that. What are you specifically doing for the Wolves? You're in the marketing sector, or just brand building, stuff like that?
Well, I started working with Dario in last December for a few months, and I organized his events that he did, his presentations across Sudbury, and then took a few months off, and then in May I started with their advertising and sales for their digital boards. They own BK Marketing.
Okay.
So we do the digital board on the Kingsway and on Notre Dame.
Oh, okay, nice.
And they're looking also for water tower advertisers. And then corporate tickets. So if any Wolves game you'd like, we can block sets of tickets for a reduced amount.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love hockey, and it's a great fit, because I'm out there talking to entrepreneurs too, so it's able to offer them another medium of advertising as well.
It's nice too, because it kind of, with hockey and all these kind of sports things, they bring the whole community together, right?
That's right.
So it brings that whole thing. It's funny, one of the companies I work with is A1 Blasty Mats. I see our box. We have one at the Sudbury Wolves Arena, which is pretty cool. One of the other things I want to talk to you about, so Kim, let's be honest. I mean, you do not too many things. You do so many different things. So you're obviously, you're doing marketing, sales, business development. Like, is there anything specific that really, like, you call your own, that you really like? Like, obviously you do a phenomenal job at all of them. But is there something specific that's like your one direct passion for any of these?
Well, I've just kind of refound that passion and come full circle. I think I've finally figured out what I want to be when I grow up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I went to school for travel and tourism.
Oh, wow. Okay, there's another one too, yeah.
So I'm a travel consultant now. As of just this past summer, I went with Expedia and taking my courses. And,
wow.
And, I worked in a travel consultant, an agency in Toronto many years ago. But then I got out of travel, but I still love to travel. So I had to put my dog down last year, and the next day, one door closes, one door opens. The next day I got invited to an information session at Expedia. It dawned on me, I'm like, oh my God, 31 years ago I took travel and tourism.
It's weird.
So it's never too late to start over or find what your passion is. And I've always loved travel, and actually my first all-inclusive that I booked just recently, they just came back and I got a great review. And
wow.
So you can check out my site on there's a link from KimberleyWahamaa.com to find that for the Expedia. But yeah, I've traveled a lot over my life.
And you also, another thing, just add on, you're also a photographer as well, so you have a whole portfolio online of other photos you take as well. Has that always been another passion of yours? So, I mean, you got photography, you're doing the travel agent business. I love it. I love that. Like, I think we think a lot on the same context, because a lot of people would argue, like, you see a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, well, no, I'm just going to focus on one thing. And it's kind of been my philosophy, similar to yours, where I like to take on a number of different things. With, my background would be sales, right? Like, that's my primary thing, but I want to have a number of different facets to my thing. And would you encourage people to go down that road, where you see some other people maybe would say, no, just focus on one thing? That's kind of what the school system promotes. They're like, no, okay, be a lawyer. Just focus on that. You know what I mean? And
but they all complement each other, right? So if I'm on a trip now, I can write off my travel, but I can take pictures and then I can promote the travel,
Absolutely,
the travel
yeah.
experience. So it's, I don't know. It's,
I like that.
It's, do what you love and just find your passion. I was listened to the podcast of Karen Hordavanko, and she said, like, what is your life purpose? And that stuck with me. So I have 3 things that I've narrowed mine down to. It's entrepreneurship, so helping entrepreneurs or being an entrepreneur, working with seniors. I'm on the ethics committee at Finlandia Village, and I've done some research projects for Finlandia with seniors. And then the third is a breast cancer advocate. So, and in Karen's podcast, she talks about, finding your purpose, aligning your projects or what jobs or whatever you have within that purpose, and if it doesn't fit, learn to say no.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest
So that's she was great in terms of a good mentor there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, to kind of get in. And I think that's where I think we're losing a little bit of our direction in society today, is that, most people are just chasing a dollar sign, and I mean, they don't realize that, you probably you go ahead and put in the hard work in one field, so that eventually you can kind of go after your passion project and be able to create that into a full-time job, or a lifestyle rather. That'd probably be the easiest thing. Yeah. And another thing I want to talk to you about, because this is another thing, and being that it's so prominent in society, how do you feel about the aspect of sales? That's another thing, because there's such a stigma with being a salesperson or sales individual. Oh, well, it's sales, you know what I mean? But what keeps a business in business, right? How do you feel about that aspect, or about sales in general?
Sales, I would say, is all about relationships, and not being pushy and
like, oh, you're just trying to sell me, and I'm sitting back, I'm like, no, I'm not trying to, like, what have I tried to sell you? My stuff's free. It's like, you know what I mean, most of the time, and it's kind of getting over that hump, and it kind of helps you. You see a lot of these salespeople are great people, dealing with people, right? That's what I meant. So, and talk about, so once we talk about sales, what about the marketing piece, Kim? So, I mean, you've done an exceptional job marketing yourself. I mean, like I said, you have so many different hats. What is some advice you would give to some people out there in terms of getting themselves out there, whether it be as an entrepreneur, as a business, to better brand yourself?
Well, really have a strong logo. I think that's what I've learned in the past, even with, big companies, that if their brand isn't prominent, then you're going to get lost in the shuffle, right? And just really take your time and map it out, strategically. Do your LinkedIn, do your Facebook, your Twitter. I don't tweet, but I should.
Yeah,
I probably
noise,
should. But just really align yourself with other people too that are going to help you with your business.
Absolutely.
Don't be shy, right? You're only one question away.
It's true.
Dario, I was meeting with him about another issue, and he said he needed help. So I said, well, why don't you hire me?
Absolutely, yeah, just like that.
Right? Sometimes you're just one question away.
Absolutely, and it's kind of surrounding yourself, like you said, with the right team and individuals, and that's what I found, like, even in business in general. I mean, you're going to have some people that might not like you or might not want to do business, but you'll always have that select few people that they're willing to do business. They'll help you grow, get to that next level. Or go ahead. And
it's really, too, about resourcefulness, right? So if I'm meeting with an entrepreneur, I can put them in touch with somebody who needs marketing or needs whatever it is, right? It's just having that resourcefulness and being able to tap into that and help them ultimately reach their goals, right?
Absolutely. If you have an entrepreneur, Kim, that's sitting back and they're kind of on the fence, they're trying to make that entrepreneurial plunge, like, what is some of the advice you would give them to say, hey, you know what I mean? Because I think that's a lot of time to get over a fear or get over that kind of hump, is you need somebody like Jack Canfield to say, kind of give you a little bit of a push. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what is some of your advice to these entrepreneurs, millennials primarily, to get out there?
Never give up, right? Never give up. And, I mean, I was faced with cancer and I still had events to run. So
that's wild. I love that.
Right? It's like that was my goal. So I think you have to put your blinders off and just focus on your ultimate goal. And every day, and you know what? It'll come back.
No, full thread, yeah, exactly. And obviously, so this is another very important question. Being that you're such an active community member, how do you feel about the importance of giving back? Like, in different ways, like, obviously, like, I find it comes, that's what brings you into true fulfillment in life, you know what I mean? It's when you kind of put yourself out there, give back, and then it comes back tenfold. How do you feel about that?
Well, in terms of my Trust Your Bus, so I've the stories are there, and now, that was in 2013, I'm now getting calls people are referring me because they have somebody who's going through a similar thing.
Wow.
So to me, I'm again helping others and helping other caregivers who are going through
that same
cancer.
stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a tough battle. I mean, I've never faced anything like that, and you were one of the first people. Like, just the mentality, I would never even have known. You know what I mean? The story, and you've helped me out too, even as a speaker and stuff like that. We're on the same bureau, and your story, like just being able to persevere. I think that's one of the best things you can have. And do you believe you were born with that, like just the persevering factor, or it came through just repetition, or?
I've got Sisu. That's
what we're gonna ask. Yeah.
The tattoo here. Sisu's an perseverance. It's inner strength. I just really believe it's part of my makeup. And,
it's in DNA. Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't drown in the whitewater rafting. Didn't die from cancer, and who knows? We don't know. We could get hit by a bus tomorrow, but God, touch wood that we're all here. But you have to live each day to the fullest.
Absolutely.
That's my mantra.
And I want you to talk to me too about your travels on top of it. You know what I mean? So with the persevering factor, but going out in the world, like how important was that to you to be able to get to see different cultures and how different kind of beliefs and stuff like that around the world?
Well, my dad was a geography teacher, and he took us across Canada at a young age. And then in 1980, I had the privilege of living in Australia for a year.
Wow.
So my dad and mom took all 3 kids, and they were like 37, 39, and took 3 kids across the world, and we stayed and lived in Perth for a year.
Wow.
And that's when I really got the travel bug, because I came back I was born here, but I grew up in South River. So you can imagine coming back to South River after living in Perth.
Absolutely.
I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I gotta keep booking those trips.
I gotta move around here, yeah. Absolutely,
yeah. But it was such a great experience, and I thank my parents for definitely giving us that experience,
Yeah, putting you out there. This is an interesting question I was thinking about. Is there any advice, and you don't have to answer, it might be difficult, but for people, like this is one of the things that we're trying to do in the societies where you're able to travel and make money at the same time. Do you have any advice for people where they can be running their business abroad on their phone, but you could be sitting, like you said, in Perth actually running? Is there any advice that you can give anybody for that kind of stuff?
Well, it's a small world, right? You can bring your laptop. I mean, I'm going to Mexico in March, but I'm bringing my laptop. I'll be working from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There is no 9 to 5 anymore.
No,
there is no Monday to Friday, right? I mean, I work every weekend. I work every day, but I love what I do.
Exactly.
So it's not like work.
That's the one. I think that's one of the hardest things, and I'm trying to work with a lot of people like similar to yourself, where the younger era, where you have these millennials, and I'm trying to show you can actually I do a T-chart for them saying you're giving 40 hours a week to this. Well, maybe if you tried converting that into your passion, spend that 40 hours on something that might benefit you in regards to your passion, and it's a little bit easier, I guess, or not easier, but trying to paint that picture. But it's hard to kind of push people over to the next level for that kind of stuff. What I wanted to ask you, so being another one of your hats is, like we said, we're on the same speaker bureau. Do you see yourself doing a little bit more speaking, talking about cancer, or even doing, talking about business, entrepreneurship? Do you see that in your future some more?
Well, I've done the Trust Your Bust, and I was really privileged to speak to the School of Medicine students.
Oh, wow.
And I did 2 presentations to them, and there was a few people involved that actually got my presentation to be part of their curriculum.
Wow.
So I think that was one of the first to be a patient perspective of giving those students that experience. And it was quite emotional for me, because I was doing this presentation, and then these students, they're crying. They're coming up to me and they're crying. I was like, okay, I'm done crying. That was a long time ago, right? I'm good. But I think that's from the student perspective, they got to see the good, bad, and the ugly, and the raw of what I went through.
Absolutely, and better to learn from too. And I think that one of the best things, especially with the work you do and like the several hats, is just the mentality you carry. And that's kind of my belief with a lot of things, is that mindset is everything in the most sense. And I think that's the one factor you can't take away from anybody at the end of the day, that you could go become dead broke, you could lose your house, you could lose all this stuff, but at the end of the day you have everything within your mind. As long as you're not like me as a martial artist, you get kicked in the head. Excuse me. No, unless that happens. But no, that's their side. But no, you're absolutely right. So what I want to close this off with, Kim. So, I mean, you got several projects on the go. What can we expect next from you? Like in terms, I mean, you got so many different things. Like with the Wolves, like, is there any big projects coming up? Or are you just going to keep growing your brand, your personal brand, Kimberley Wahamaa? Like, is there anything? What can we expect from you?
I'm, continuing with KimberleyWahamaa.com and whatever projects come in underneath that umbrella, then, you know, whether it be marketing or sales or events. One of the new projects I'm working on is a digital magazine that's an international readership, but it's Canadian based out of Sudbury. It's called knockknock.ca. And it's nok.ca. And the first feature for that was Paul Young, the author of The Shack.
Wow.
So there's some great stories in there, and I encourage you to subscribe for that. And definitely. I wrote actually an article in there on my trips to the Bahamas.
Wow.
So,
I like that.
So again, it's like, you know, there's so many different pieces to the puzzle, but make it your own, right?
Absolutely. It kind of comes back to the signature of who you are.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, and this is very important, do you see yourself writing a book in the future? With you have everything in? I've
thought of that for Trust Your Bust, actually. I'm thinking it'll be on my bucket list.
No, absolutely. I mean, especially just to see the story. Like, I'd love to hear you. I've never got to see you as a speaker, and I'd love to see the story behind it. You know, when you get right involved on the stage, it'd be cool. So another thing, obviously, the book is just another facet to kind of get inside of your mind. So I honestly got to say, I'm glad you're a friend of mine, and I think you've done an exceptional job. I mean, you're doing so many different things, and I'm excited to see, you know, maybe one day we'll work on a project together. Who knows what it'll be. But seriously, thank you for your time, and I wanted you to talk into here. Where can we find you? So we have KimberleyWahamaa.com. Where else can we find you, Kim?
Expedia Cruise Ships, Kimberley, Wahamaa, but everything's on my website.
On the website?
So, yeah.
Do you want to spell your last name just in case? I tagged you in it, but just in case.
It's Wahamaa.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate for having you.
Take care.
You too.